Jakey and Nando. What's up? How are you, Jakey?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Busy
Good
day.
times, right? Yeah, it has been. Jake, let's get right into it. Tua. What do we do? What do we do?
Did you just really say that?
Yeah. Hold on, I see you sent me something in the private chat.
I'm gonna hang
Okay,
up.
I gotcha.
I'm
Roger
gonna
that.
I'm gonna hang up on you for saying that. That's worse than any dad joke I've ever made.
That wasn't practiced either. That's the best part. Uh, Come on.
So if you go, hey, no, this is a pimp out to the. If you go to the app, we have that real time feed where you see
Yeah.
like the breaking news. I responded to it in there, but the brief version of what we see in there is I don't think is a downgrade. At I say best case, it potentially is an upgrade. I think people are a little concerned for Parker with the deep ball, but Tua is not a bad deep ball thrower. He's just not quite Fitzpatrick. So that's a little bit of concern, but I think Parker's still going to be a solid wide receiver too. The backfield, fine with Gaskin. You have some concern. Maybe Gaskin loses a rushing touchdown or two, but he wasn't a high volume guy there anyway. So like Tua's upside, Tua by himself, if you're in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league, this is number one waiver priority. This is blow whatever fab you can if you need to save like $4 for the rest of the season,
All right.
whatever. But I mean, this is go after him because he has Justin Herbert upside, but will run even more. I mean, honestly,
So who is he?
Who's
Who's
Tua?
Tua? Like, is he? He's not Lamar Jackson, obviously. I don't think he's Patrick Mahomes. So he doesn't have those tools and those weapons. Is he Josh Allen?
No, because he's a better thrower than Josh Allen. So
Well, he got better this year. Josh Allen's been better this year.
he has been, but he's still a better thrower.
All right.
87 touchdowns and 11 interceptions.
Is he Gardner Minshew? I don't know, who is he? Like, he runs a lot and he's a good thrower. He's like
He's
top
better
12.
Gardner. He's better Gardner Minshew.
All right.
So I was talking about it earlier today, and I think that Gardner Minshew. What would you say for the rest of this? I know I would say he's like QB 10 to 12 for the rest of the season.
Yep.
I think that's what you're hoping for Tua. Obviously, he's a rookie. The floor is he struggles. The floor is he's QB 20 and you drop him in a week or two. But for the upside, he could definitely be a low end QB1, and that's why you have to go. That's why I would even add him in a single quarterback league. If you've been going with Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Matt Ryans and Staffords and those type of guys,
Yeah.
I would add Tua because you could potentially get like everybody's starting Herbert right now over these guys. Like, so I think that's what you're looking for, and his rushing upside. But again, real quick, so it's Parker,
please
Gaskin,
keep going. This is the Jake show.
I'm hoping it brings a little bit more consistency to Gesicki after what we just saw last week.
Oh.
But the interesting one I will say is Preston Williams. But the problem with Preston Williams is not going to be the switch to Tua. The problem with Preston Williams is they're still running him out there as a number 3 wide receiver right now.
Which it shouldn't be.
No, it was Isaiah Ford 2 weeks ago, and there's Jakeem Grant last week.
Yeah.
But it's the West Coast style. And I think that's the problem is Preston Williams doesn't really fit that.
Well, I mean, eventually, like, talent wins out, right? Like, as our friend Emery Hunt always says.
Talent will win out, but Preston Williams is not an elite talent that can fit every offense. He just might have a consistent struggle with the West Coast offense.
Listen, get your questions in. This is the Waiver Wire show. We're nothing without you. All right, Jake. Tua, I think you're right. Blast off into space with him. Do what you can to get him. Who's the next guy?
Whatever you can.
I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going back to that well. Is the next is it Gus Edwards number 2 for you? I mean, Boston Scott to me is so tired, man. I'm not going to go for Boston. I'm not going to do this again.
Mark Ingram's not officially out.
All right.
Exactly. Do you know who has the most fantasy points in the Ravens backfield so far?
Mark Ingram.
J.K. Dobbins.
All right. Fair.
So, like, that's the Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. If Ingram was actually out, I'd have a little bit of intrigue, but I would kind of put it around lesser than the Chargers guys, just because I just think there's too much sharing going back there. And that backfield as a whole, even if you combined all 3 of them, it's not what it was last year. It's not the upside of last year either.
It's a mess, right? Which says a mess?
Yeah, I would add Boston Scott. He's a low ceiling guy though, but you get potentially 2 games out of him because if I'm the Eagles, I'm looking at the fact that you have the Giants, then you have the Cowboys, then you have a bye. You give Miles Sanders essentially a month between games.
Right. Jake, let me ask you this: is this one of those weeks where we talked about it before? If you don't have Tua, if you don't want Tua, if you don't need him, say if Deshaun Watson, you don't need Tua. Is this one of those weeks where you sit out and like, well, maybe someone will drop Cam Akers? I'll pick him up.
No, because there's still way too many leagues where Higgins and Fulgham and Claypool.
It's like T. Higgins or Rashad Higgins?
T. Higgins.
All right.
still sitting out there. Claypool, Ruggs, who else? Keelan Cole. People still don't want to pick up Keelan Cole.
Yeah.
There's still options out there. Justin Jackson still lingering in some leagues. Somebody might drop Joshua Kelly. I would go pick up Joshua Kelly. If something happens to Jackson, he's the only guy.
And what about AJ? Oh, he's not. Like we talked about last week. Dude whose name we can never remember, who used to be a tight end.
Yeah, but he's the only guy.
I can't remember his name.
He's not going to lose touches to him. So, yeah, then nobody can remember his name because he's irrelevant.
Look him up on my phone while you answer this question.
Is this going to be your wonderful Dearness Johnson who had another game and you're still all over there?
No, because this is ridiculous what I'm trying to pull off here. Dearness Johnson should have done. I mean, he played 30-something% of the snaps. He just didn't get a lot of carries, but
because he's Dearness Johnson.
It's a rushing team. Kareem Hunt hurt. Whatever.
Hey, let it go.
Answer the question. Well, I gotta look this up.
Devontae Booker.
I think only if you have Josh Jacobs, right?
Not even then. He's going to split with Jalen Richard if anything were to happen.
All right. Fulgham must start every week going forward, right, Jakey?
How do you not start Fulgham at this point? How would you?
Maybe he's got a good team. Maybe he's got a great team.
He just put up a touchdown and got 13 targets against the Ravens. Like, how do you not want to? You got to ride Fulgham until he disappoints.
Prodigy Fantasy, he's right. It's Gabe something.
I know.
It's like Gabe Numbers. It's like his last name sounds like something familiar.
I'm trying to think. That's all I was trying to think of his last name. Neighbors.
Is that it? Yeah. Jim Neighbors.
But Nabers.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Go team, go. Josh Kelly rests. I think this is in relation to Tua. Or maybe he just wants to know, maybe A1 Burner just wants to know what's up with Josh Kelly rest of the season, Jake.
Well, that's in relation to Tua.
Oh, I don't know, because it's up from like 3 minutes ago when we were talking about Tua.
Okay.
I'm just going off the timestamp.
No, Joshua Kelly, everybody wants to drop him after one game. Like Justin Jackson stepped into the Austin Eckler role and it was better, but let's chill out before we're just dropping Joshua Kelly, who is the number 2 on the team, if something were to happen. And what if they're up this week? And what if they're up and they just decide that Joshua Kelly needs to be the guy when they're up? Similar to the Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds situation.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good rhetorical question. Drop Dalton for Tua? You already have Minshew.
Yeah.
Drop them both for Tua, right, Jake?
No. Hold Minshew.
Why?
Don't drop them both. Because Minshew's a top 10 quarterback.
Well, why do you need Tua then?
Because you're going for the upside of both.
Jake, do you carry Tua quarterbacks? Is it time to cut bait on Antonio Gibson?
No.
All right, just making sure.
Well,
how about a 10-team league?
No.
All right.
All the people are out there that are chasing Boston Scott right now. Go make a trade.
Boston Scott, man, I can't.
No, but like it's the fact that people are chasing for running backs right now, and they're like, well, I don't want to pick this one up. I don't care about like you right now. You're thumbing your nose up at Boston Scott. That's ridiculous.
We've been there, haven't we, Jake?
Okay, and he's been a flex running back.
All right. Someone drop Kelly. You're very curt today.
Yes, drop Hasty for Kelly.
All right.
And I like Hasty, but if Jeff Wilson's back, he's the more power option between Hasty. Hasty's actually a lot like Jerick McKinnon.
I don't know how that's going to shake out, man. They did some weird stuff in that backfield. San Francisco's tough. Like, San Francisco's not frustrating. It's just tough to pin down. Like, the Rams and the Ravens are very frustrating. San Francisco is just tough,
No, it's not. Jerick McKinnon's the guy when there is no Raheem Mostert, but at the end of the game when they were grinding out the clock, they went to Hasty because he is a little bit built better than McKinnon injury-wise, and McKinnon has the injury history. But if Jeff Wilson's out there, Jeff Wilson likely gets more run than Hasty.
We got a couple questions. I want to get to some of the guys we had listed first, though. We talked about JaMycal Hasty. AJ Green, I think he's available in 45% of leagues, which is a little above our threshold, but he's AJ Green. Was this week real, Jake, or was it fake? Jake?
It could potentially be real with the way that they use them. They stopped sending him deep. He's not deep anymore. He's not the deep red zone contested catch guy. Made some, but not the level he used to be. So they started sending him on seam routes over the middle. They're using him more in the intermediate game, which is if they're doing, could resurrect his value like they did with Larry Fitzgerald. That's the comparison I made on the waiver show yesterday, is that like Larry Fitzgerald could be back, but Tyler Boyd's been the most consistent, and T. Higgins has actually been the number 1 and the first look when they're in the red zone. So is he back to being relevant? Wide receiver 4, maybe, but he went from being droppable to maybe hold on one more week.
How about those Titans?
How about him?
I'm
They're
happy
undefeated.
for him. Oh,
They're
David's got a
undefeated.
comment. What's wrong with carrying 2 quarterbacks?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he's sending lots of love, so that's cool.
No, he's saying it to you.
I know, man. LOL doesn't mean lots of love. Did you ever hear that big mistake? You ever see those stories when people thought LOL meant lots of love?
Oh, yeah. But in any case, in that situation, I actually wouldn't carry 2 quarterbacks. But this year only because of the COVID situation. But when you have Russell Wilson, you're never benching Russell Wilson. That's why I would never carry a second quarterback.
Let me bring back Nancy, who asked about Antonio Gibson earlier, but because I just want to ask this in terms of J.D. McKissic, who's still out there in a lot of leagues. If you're looking at a PPR league at Boston Scott, J.D. McKissic, Giovanni Bernard, how would you order them, Jake?
In full PPR?
Yeah, let's say full PPR.
McKissic, then Scott, and I don't even care about Gio.
What about 0.5?
Probably.
Well, Mixon, Mixon's got a foot issue. You never know.
Nah, he came back into the game.
Yeah.
Didn't even hold him out for the rest of the game.
Fair.
So it's still McKissic because Boston Scott at best is a 2-week option. And we saw what happened in week 1. The reason you're like, I don't want Boston Scott is because we saw what happened in week 1. He's essentially McKissic now with no Miles Sanders. And then when Miles Sanders is back, he's irrelevant for fantasy purposes.
So Nancy's clarifying that she's in a standard league.
So what is that?
Still hold on to Antonio Gibson?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just monitoring. All right. Jake, you want to... We could turn this off and start again if you're getting annoyed at these questions. I'm sorry.
I stopped asking the same damn question.
Oh, come on. It's Nancy. She's cool, man. She's watching the show. Here's Dominic. Should I still keep Zach Moss for Boston Scott if I have Miles Sanders?
If you need to start Scott, then you make the swap. There's no reason to really hang on to Zach Moss unless Singletary gets hurt.
All right. Similar question. Should I still hold Edmonds if I roster Drake?
Yes.
Right?
What? Why are we dropping Edmonds after 1 game?
I started them both.
Edmonds is the option when they're down. Look at who the team. Look at this week and tell me there's not a chance that they could be down very quickly.
We got a theme going here, Jake. Can you start Claypool and Deontay if they're both healthy?
Yeah, I don't
think
like
so,
to.
right?
Well, I don't like to. But we're talking about when situations like this arise. Is it Claypool versus Randall Cobb? Then you start both. Is it Claypool versus T. Higgins? Then split the risk.
Yeah. And who would you would drop Deontay Johnson down because of the risk, right? Is that what we're talking about? Or would you drop Claypool down because of the risk?
I still would go Deontay Johnson if healthy, and there's a concern there, but he was the number 1. He was the number 1. Everybody was claiming and saying he's the new guy through the first 3 weeks, and then he gets banged up, and all of a sudden people want to drop him.
I think people are going to start just little by little in these shallow leagues dropping Juju Smith-Schuster.
He'd be the first. I would drop him before I drop Deontay.
It's crazy, right? Like his draft capital and what it is right now.
Juju Smith-Schuster got outplayed by James Washington.
It is what it is. I got a James Washington autograph rookie card, Jakey. Here's a question from Josh. What's the fastest a treadmill can run that you'll still be able to dance on it? Sounds like a Jake question to me.
No, it has to do with the gifts that I used from the OK Go song.
Oh.
That's why. I've never tried to dance on a treadmill, so
why not?
No. Also, I don't do that kind of alternative dancing. I was doing more like club dancing back in the day.
I would like to hear about that sometime. I don't know if now is because we got some people to help. We got a lot of questions coming in. Trez is back. He wants to know if he can find this audio on a podcast. Sorry, man. But you can do. Oh man, I forget what it is. It's called like 4K downloader. I used to use it to pull the audio. You rip the audio off the YouTube videos.
Yeah, just type in download YouTube audio and you should be able to find it.
Some of that's actually will bring malware onto your computer.
I know. Just be careful about it.
Yeah, just because the 4K video downloader.
I didn't say type it in and click on the first link that has a giant red flashing screen.
Jakey, here's a good question actually from Bubblehead, who has IRS season upside. But it is interesting to bring up Lamar's schedule is rough.
No,
I'm not saying you make the switch. I'm just saying maybe people should lower their expectations. It's not going to take him out of your lineup, but maybe be aware. This is a good point. Lamar's got a tough schedule coming up. That's all. I'm not saying you bench him. I'm just saying be aware. You might have to make those points up somewhere else. True or false?
What instead of getting 35 points, he's getting 28?
Yeah, Jake, come on. I mean, that's fine. Time to let go of Madison? I say yes. Dalvin Cook's probably going to be back, right?
You can't ever drop a backup guy. It was a disappointing game, but that's because Madison's not Dalvin Cook. You can't just let him go because of one bad game replacing Dalvin Cook.
Here's a good question about Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Drop Scotty Miller, by the way.
Oh, sorry, there was a second part of that question.
Yeah.
I'm running through them, Jake. I'm in a mood.
I already answered it.
I know. I just wanted everyone else to see what you were referring to in case they popped in too late. Do I trade Adam Thielen and Kenyon Drake for Tyreek Hill?
That's an overpay.
That's a lot to give up, right?
What is Tyreek Hill better than Thielen? Not for fantasy purposes.
Tyreek Hill is better than Thielen.
Not for fantasy purposes.
I don't know, man. He's, I like Tyreek Hill.
Okay, you can like him all you want. He's not better for fantasy purposes. Adam Thielen's actually been more consistent.
I had a Clyde Edwards-Helaire question. Oh, there we go. So put Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Kenyon Drake into context with each other, Jake.
Clyde Edwards was definitively better.
Kenyon Jake.
Why did you Tua that?
Because it's funny. Because they rhyme.
You didn't even hear what I said.
Oh, what'd you say?
I said, why'd you Tua that?
Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. All right. Tip the cap to you. Sorry, I'm not advertising anything on this cap. I don't wear a cap that often.
Okay.
And I threw it on real quick for the show.
Okay.
Because my hair wasn't properly waxed yet.
Okay.
So it just, I don't know, it makes me feel weird. Anyway, Jake, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a game, right? Kenyon Drake had a game. Both of them have issues. Kenyon Drake has Chase Edmonds there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has Le'Veon Bell coming in. How are we approaching both of these situations? Is there a bit of similarity to it, or are you totally different things?
Totally different things. Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't lose passing game work as Drake does, as much as he would. The thing with Le'Veon Bell, he's going to take Darwin Thompson's and Darrell Williams' role combined. So 20, 30% of the snaps or work every single week. The worst case scenario is obviously if we're all wrong and they use Bell as the lead guy. But after what Edwards-Helaire just did, why would they? But we've seen dumber things done.
We got Bell as our number 2 in the depth charts, by the way.
It should be. And we've seen Patricia waste away Swift this long. So I'm not saying coaches won't do things that don't make sense. But Edwards-Helaire should still be a top 15 running back. He wasn't scoring touchdowns anyway.
Yeah. People have suddenly forgotten that. That's the weird part. Like 2 days ago, actually even before Le'Veon Bell, let's say a week ago, people are like, oh, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, red zone is like 1 for 10 with like a negative 1 yard. He's terrible. And so what do? They go get Le'Veon Bell, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes and has a good game, which I kind of see Jake as like his swan song. Like they're like, let's just get you 1 billion yards right now, man, because Le'Veon Bell's coming to town.
No, that's not a swan song.
Let's show you can do it. All right, who'd you rather have, Drake or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I said that from the jump
in a PPR. Let me get a PPR.
It's Edwards-Helaire, and then Edwards-Helaire broken body, and then Drake.
Here we go. Question from Thomas Baker III. Did I miss the DeAndre Swift conversation? I mean, it's kind of been happening for the last 3 weeks, but let's bring it up, Jake.
What's the combo? Because we didn't have one.
Here's the conversation I think we need to have. DeAndre Swift, had a breakout, but only carried the ball 14 times, and I think had 38% of the offensive snaps.
Right.
Adrian Peterson had 35% of the offensive snaps, and Kerryon Johnson with like 22 or whatever. So, right. I mean, DeAndre Swift had like a Darrell Henderson kind of game where he did a lot with a little. I don't know if that's going to turn into 50% of the snaps next week, or if they're going to be like, hey, he was great with 35%. Let's keep him there, man. It's the same he had last week.
Excuse me.
What do you think, Jake? I'm sorry if you don't like my points.
No, that's sorry. I was yawning. It's been a long day. I said that.
That's right. I'm sorry.
I apologize for the yawn. It's DeAndre Swift. That's it. You broke it all down. That's the concern with Matt Patricia is that Swift deserves 50% or more of the touches. He could be Austin Eckler in this offense, and Austin Eckler at 60% of the touches is fringy RB1. That's his potential. We just saw it, but Patricia's refused to use him. He was leading the team in snaps before that game where he only got 5 or 6 against the Cardinals that we were talking about earlier in the season.
Yep.
So, yes, we can get excited, and this is why you hold on to him. But I will tell you this. If somebody came to me with a trade and was willing to provide mid RB2 in a trade back to me, you know how much I love Swift, but I would trade him away.
You do love Swift. Here's another guy you love. Shout out Kevin.
Why is everybody asking if we missed conversations?
I don't know. I think he's joking around. Travis Fulgham conversation was like 2 seconds long, and Jake was basically start him everywhere, please. Right?
Yeah, he's not.
He didn't say please.
He's not top 20 wide receiver, but I don't see how do you bench him until he gets shut down?
2 more questions, Jake. Paul's got a question. He has Julio Fuller and CD. Which should he try and trade? I believe CD is Chris Davis.
Chris Davis?
I'm sorry, Corey Davis. Corey Davis.
This
is why we work so well together, Jake.
No, what do you mean? This is ask somewhere like in the comments or so. This is too much context. This is way too much context.
All right, Paul, go to Jake's
Sorry,
column.
Paul. Yeah, go ask there.
Seriously, go to Jake's column and drop in the comments with all the context you can.
What's your need? You need to know, like, what are you targeting? Like, what kind of wide receiver depth do you have after that?
CeeDee Lamb.
So CeeDee Lamb. So there you go.
All right.
Still, drop it in the comments.
So drop it in the comments. Yeah, give Jake everything, the PPR format, how many teams, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, do it Chris Vaccaro's comments, because he'll actually give you a deep, good answer. Jake will just be like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, go read the thousands of dumbass comments.
Last question, Jake, because we got to go.
I'm legitimately trying to help him, and you're just making a joke of it.
All right, Paul, I'm sorry. Let's bring this back up. Go ahead, Jake. Speak to Paul.
No, I was telling him to try.
I'll be over here.
Stop. No, go to the next question. Go to the column, and I'll break it down in depth.
Tell him you're the guy from YouTube.
Yes, give me some context.
This is Paul the Armenian from YouTube.
I need to know who steps in at wide receiver and what your running backs look like. What's the need?
Here we go. Last question from Scott Russamano. I mean,
Henderson's the guy until McVay screws us over, and it could happen any given week.
It's crazy, right?
It's the same thing with Ronald Jones. If Ronald Jones was doing what he was doing, this is what I said to Pat Mayo earlier today. If Ronald Jones was doing what he was doing for James Robinson on the Jaguars, or even Darrell Henderson was doing what he was doing on the Jaguars in James Robinson's spot, we consider both as RB1s. But because of who they play for, we know any given week we could get screwed.
That's a really good point. Yeah, and if James Robinson was on the Rams, you'd see him 2 games on, 1 game off.
Yeah, we'd be terrified of him.
Yeah, he might end up being Malcolm Brown. They might be like, oh, you're just a blocker, dude. You know?
Yeah.
It's sad. It's frustrating.
So you got to roll him out there until you get burned, and unfortunately, it's probably going to happen at some point, but you can't keep playing scared with somebody like that on your bench.
Well, I was editing Salfino's column today, and he hyperlinked to McVay saying Cam Akers isn't ready now.
I know, and just last week, told Jordan Rodriguez that he was going to get a heavier workworkload.
Yeah, I feel bad for
heavier load.
Jordan, every week, the question we ask her is basically, what's going on with the backfield? It's like, I wish there was something else happening with that team that we could ask, but it's like, it's legitimately the only ridiculous thing that's going on with the Rams right now.
So ask her this week, does she have any concern for Woods and Cup? Because I'm getting a lot of that in the waiver column.
Message that to Beller. He asked the questions.
Okay.
We got to go. Thank you all for joining us. We hope this is helpful. If you have questions, drop as many details as you can in the comment section of Jake's column. Actually, any column that anyone writes on the site, we all answer them. A couple people don't, but whatever. Hit Vaccaro and Jake and Moody. You hit them all 3. They don't talk to each other. They won't know Paul. So thank you all for joining us. We hope this is helpful and informative, and that your waiver wiring goes well. Jake, you want to leave us with any thoughts?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Jakey, say goodbye to the people. Halloween rankings coming up next week.
Yeah.